Greetings and welcome to Let's try that again. Good evening and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight I'm proud to be with my Unarian brother and sister to talk about something that's happening now. We've entered a new era of transparency. We've entered an age of disclosure. Greetings and welcome, Celeste, and greetings and welcome, David. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you, Hercules.
You doing well?
I'm glad to hear that. Now, first, let's start off by why would they change the initials and the words that identify UFOs, which everybody in the world is familiar with, to UAPs?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, they are actually investigating not just UFO flying objects, but UFO in land, sea, air, space. So now they're calling it unidentified anomalous objects. And another reason is there was a stigma with UFO that certain people in government, scientists didn't want to be associated with it. It would perhaps affect them and their careers. So, okay, to me, UFO and UAP is not that much different in terms of reducing stigma, but if they think that helps and people will come forward and talk, that's great.
Okay, thank you very much. David, do you want to add anything to that?
So it's called unidentified anomalous phenomena,
Yeah, I said that right.
not objects.
Oh, I
And
said objects, phenomena, right.
so ever since UFOs, became popular in the 1970s, science has observed a strange phenomena. They can go through just about any medium at any speed they want. So that's quite a phenomenon. It's no longer, an aerial phenomena. So they wanted a new name, so we're okay with that.
Okay, fantastic. Why now, though? And it seems that the other countries started first, disclosing what was in their files, and now the United States seems ready to do that. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I've watched the Senate committees, so I've been keeping up to date with it. Why now? What is going on now that makes it so important that the world knows that this is real and not some aberration or hallucination or hoax?
Well, for one, planet Earth is entering into the Aquarian age, and truth will become more and more prevalent. And the UAP phenomena is associated with all countries, not just the powerful ones. They've appeared and been photographed in all the major countries. So they're definitely demonstrating universal brotherly love. They're not singling out any one country. And so people as a whole are being quickened to the spiritual reality of life. And that means that we're not alone in the universe.
Thank you very much. Celeste, anything to add to that?
Well, from the film that David and I watched, the documentary that was released to the public a couple of weeks ago, Age of Disclosure, there's certain individuals that were working in an agency that was part of our military intelligence community, and they became aware of all this information and thought it was so important that the public be aware that it would have lasting impact for humanity in a good way. They're looking at it in a positive way. And the positive things that can come out of reverse engineered technology. That one individual in particular, Lou Elizondo, Elizondo, decided to go public, and to do that as a government employee, he could not go to the media. So after some deliberation with family, etc., he decided, I think in about 2017, to quit his job, and he went to the media back then, and there was a disinformation campaign against him, and so, but it did begin the ball rolling, and other individuals eventually joined along with that, and this whole film, the director decided rather than focusing on hardcore so-called evidence, if you've got filmed of down crashed vehicles or even alien bodies that are deceased, he said, well, half the public wouldn't believe it or they'd think it was AI. So he thought the credibility would be these high level government intelligence, defense, scientists, officials that have been involved in all of this secrecy to come out on the film. And they're literally putting their reputation and their careers on the line. So he thought that was validation for people that they're not lying, they're taking a huge risk here. And to me, the biggest person that spearheaded that was current Secretary of State and National Defense Secretary Mark Rubio, because he's been involved with this movement for a number of years, I think since at least 2012. And when he agreed to do this, then a number of other individuals said, we'll do it too. And then they kept it secret while they were filming so it wouldn't leak to the media and scare people from getting involved until the film was debuted at a film festival last March.
Like I said, I haven't seen the movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I've been following the Senate hearings, and a lot of the same people who were involved in the movie were involved in that. And I was very pleasantly surprised to find that it had bipartisan support,
Yeah.
and that people who were usually contentious in the political arena and in the theater that we watch daily, they were very pleasant toward each other and toward the need to open the doors and make this topic understood. So that was very refreshing. That was very positive, I found. Now, Unarius has a unique perspective in that this mystery has been there since the foundation of Unarius. And there are a lot of insights that Unarius has that many people who might not be familiar with Unarius are aware of. So, what does Unarius have to say about the UAP and the topic of disclosure?
Well, planet Earth is going through a step up, and this is all part of the plan, the grand design that was planned for planet Earth to wake up spiritually. So one of the methods, the ETs have been buzzing our planet since the 1947 era when the atomic bomb was detonated and it affected other planets, other dimensions. So they realized that there was a need for them to buzz our planet and wake us up spiritually. So we stop using the atom in a destructive way and start embracing our cosmic oneness with the whole planetary neighborhood to be brothers and sisters in our galaxy rather than destroyers. So they've been buzzing our planet. They've been being photographed by multiple people, one person, military, radar, and it's having an effect. It's waking up planet Earth to embrace new realities, that we're not alone in the universe, and then there's technologies way ahead of what we have, which could be harnessed for good.
Okay, thank you very much, Celeste.
I think the key thing that Unarius has is that the beings that we're aware of that we've contacted, particularly the ones Uriel contacted in 1973 through subchannels that were on 32 other worlds in our galaxy that became the Interplanetary Confederation and that we continue to have mental contacts with, have a spiritual bias. They've learned lessons and they are no longer making some of the mistakes that we made here on Earth because we are ignorant and spiritually retarded. So that is something that we offer, is that these aren't just advanced beings in terms of their technology, but they're advanced in terms of their spirituality and their wanting to reach out and help humanity rather than just keep this information to themselves. And of course, help when we're ready to use it in a positive way. And the thing that I find, there's other documentaries as well as this one that just came out, And when you hear astrophysicists interviewed, that no doubt most of them believe that there's life in some form out there. There's 100 billion galaxies. It'd be pretty ridiculous to think that there isn't some other life forms out there. That they don't think about these beings being more spiritually advanced, because I think they're projecting out their own consciousness, where they currently are in their own consciousness. So they don't think about the positive often. Sometimes then the fear factor comes in, and that's also memories of our past, with us being the attackers in UFOs and the taking over of other planets and other star systems. So they're concerned about the potential threat because they don't know who they are, and we can't counter them. We don't have the technology in order to be able to do that. And again, there was some inkling with one of the scientists that was interviewed saying that he thought perhaps they were benevolent beings and maybe wanted to share their technology to help us in a positive way. But there's still a great fear there to some degree. And I think that's one of the main things that Unarius is about, is to set the record straight and say there's no reason to be afraid. We have this positive future. These beings that we know are part of this master plan to come here and help us eventually. They're already contacting us that are open to them mentally. We're receiving their information, their messages, that they have this tremendous love that they're bringing to offer humanity, that is part of the bigger spiritual plan or brotherhood of Unarius and the galaxy.
So may I add,
Yeah.
I just watched a brief video today by the former Canadian Defense Minister, Paul Heller, and it was a short little video, but he said that not only are flying saucers or UAPs visiting us now, they have been for thousands of years, and they are part of a federation. They have certain principles and rules. So this is another thing. Unarius's perspective is that indeed there is an interplanetary confederation. And once this is all a unified effort, like the United Nations, they care for each other. They look out for each other. And if a planet is missing certain things, like clean water or whatever, the planets who are really good at that technology can lend a hand. That is called brotherly love. That is the future of planet Earth, to become the 33rd member of such a brotherhood called the Interplanetary Confederation. And we have 3 volumes that go into detail about this. So, it's great that planet Earth has this wonderful, positive future.
That is fantastic. What I know an opportunity came up in the beginning of the new millennium for us to join the Confederation, but we didn't make the grade, as it were. So we're still in the circumstances that we're in. What exactly are they looking for in terms of our behavior, in terms of our actions, that would qualify us to become part of this larger organization?
Well, it wasn't necessarily that it had to happen after the year 2000. Uriel, the co-founder of Unarius, got information in the 70s and thought they were coming then. And they could have come at many points, but overall there has to be an awakening of a certain, like a tipping point percentage of the people on this planet that would welcome them and be receptive to these beings coming. So that's what they're waiting for. So that's why it's important for each one of us signal through our welcoming attitude, our positive thoughts toward these beings, by putting pressure now on our Congress people to bring more of this out into the open, that we're ready for it. Yeah, we all have a role to play here.
I believe Uriel did say that they're waiting for the green light of welcome. So let me give you a couple more documentaries that have just been released. One is called The Alien Perspective. And I just heard the interview on Coast to Coast AM recently with George Norrie. So I went to see the video. It's very unique. and it offers a perspective from the extraterrestrial perspective. It's free. But anyway, another very important movement is the Citizens for Disclosure movement. This is this is by the New Paradigm Institute. And they had their first Global Disclosure Day, October 19th this year. You can find them on YouTube, and it's just beautiful what they have to say. So the whole world is wanting the truth. They want to be neighbors with extraterrestrials. They want to know about life in other worlds, and it's happening. It's part of our evolution to evolve into this state. And another thing is, how many movies do you see, like 007 or whatever, where a weapon is used to solve the problem? So think about how that conditions people into thinking, yep, we've got to have a powerful weapon in case these extraterrestrials are not friendly. That is the kind of mentality I think the Space Brothers are waiting for it to wane. And a lot of people are talking about how exploding the atomic bomb has negative effects, not only on our planet, on other planets. So this is something Dr. Stephen Greer talks about. So it's happening. Our green light of welcome is slowly turning green, and we're waking up. But it's an evolution.
Yes, I see a lot of positive things happening. In fact, the Disclosure Network in New York has a show on my channel. So they have a monthly show just like Unarius had, and they deal with these type of questions a great deal. What do you think? What effect do you think this will have? The idea that there are spiritually evolved beings from other planets on our own society, on our religions, on our social systems, on our nationalities, all sorts of divisions that we use to identify ourselves and to interact with the world through. How do you think it'll affect them?
Celeste?
Well, that's part of the reason that supposedly some of this information that wasn't so classified hasn't been released, because there was such concern how it would affect all of our institutions. And yeah, it'll have a tremendous effect, but there has to be some intelligence and a plan with how that information is presented. But there's going to be certain people in positions of power in all those institutions that will not want this change to come about, because potentially they may not have the same position of power and control and money too. There's a money factor here as well. Some of the reverse engineering that is going on by the military industrial complex. Well, why are they motivated to do it? Well, obviously there's money in it for them, and that's a big part of our society. But it's been known for a long time that the Vatican is aware of this. So you have to think that major institutions have started to make plans for this information coming out. And I believe when Stephen Greer first came out with his disclosure to Congress in 2012, he had already talked and briefed world leaders, religious leaders. And so since then, there have been plans, or it's not like it's, oh my gosh, this is totally new to society. So yeah, there'll be major changes, but that's what our society needs. But it has to be done in such a way that it doesn't disrupt things so much that our society can't function. Like anything, it has to be introduced in a process that enables it to unfold in a positive way, and to help people to understand why the changes that will come about will be positive. And there'll probably be a lot of resistance to some people that are involved in religions that believe, maybe the more fundamentalists, that contact with UFOs, you're contacting the devil. You're inviting the demons here. So that's another factor as well. But we can't let all of this intimidate us, and I think about the brave people that have spoken out, and they put aside their personal concerns and safety because they see that this is part of a positive, huge step up for humanity in our lifetime. It's the most fundamental, hugest thing there could be, right? That we're not alone and that there's extraterrestrials waiting to contact us and potentially help us and share all this positive technology. We've got ourselves in a pickle on this planet with our use of energy that is polluting the planet, and it's also not, it's exhaustible. So, the whole new energy technology is one facet of it. And you brought up wars, and, again, people realize that they're more united than different, especially knowing that they're not alone in the universe. So, there's a lot of misinformation that's been put out in Hollywood movies, but there's been a lot of preparation too through like the Star Wars and Star Trek movies to help people to understand that we potentially aren't alone. And it's a remembrance for people of past lives. That's the other key factor that Unarius has that these organizations don't, is that we know that we have a history living on other planets, and we've had individuals or uh, beings from other planets come here from the time of Lemuria and Atlantis. That was natural to have communication with other planets and interactions. So all of that will come out as our true history.
And Unarius has techniques that help somebody get in touch with their past lives and the dramas that they lived out when they were here before when they were elsewhere. How can past life therapy help somebody awaken to those things and integrate the experiences and the lessons learned into their daily life in the here and now?
Well, when they hear reports that missiles have been turned on or turned off, and there's nothing the military can do about it, part of the military's interpretation of that, that's an imminent threat. They have no business in our military area. Well, they're universal people. They don't really adhere to that. So they're trying to signal us to not be so violent and not depend on weaponry. So one of the things that Unarius teaches is if you think that we're being invaded or there is a threat that UFOs or UAPs will invade us and take us over, you have to turn that around and say, okay, was I involved in a past life endeavor to overtake other planets, other societies? Was I a conqueror in my past life? And therefore, psychologically, I'm projecting it out onto this scenario. So yes, we have a lot of information for people to go through their past lives, say in Atlantis and Lemuria, and uncover those scenarios, those traumas that are in their psychic body.
Yes, I have memories of Lemuria and Orion, and I've had many Orion incarnations, and they resonated quite powerfully in this life in certain ways. Not really destructive, but in terms of the some of the outlooks, ways of looking at things. And I've used the fact that our world is the way it is to show me that there are better ways of doing things.
So let me mention that another part of our society,
Uh-huh.
our science of history and archaeology will be completely revamped when they know that structures like the pyramids had the help of extraterrestrials.
Mm-hmm.
And science is waking up our archaeologists, new age, enlightened archaeologists like Graham Hill is awakening to the idea that these were energy projectors. They regenerated energy by some kind, by some method. And one I just recently read about was they tapped into the natural vibration of planet Earth. So Dr. Norman did state that this was a method used. Many different temples around the planet Earth were built as energy collectors. So let's talk about the pyramids in Giza. One of the methods used was sound. And sound now is being verified scientifically as a way to induce anti-gravity. So suppose you had huge blocks of sandstone or whatever that weighed a lot of tons, and you brought together a group of people and you started chanting like Caruso, and you found the resonant frequency of that sandstone block. Dr. Norman said that it now could have the consistency of margarine or butter. And two people could take that huge ton block up to wherever they wanted to. So that's one method that was used. And we have a chapter in The Voice of Hermes. And it was one of the latter chapters called Plutarch. And he goes into some of the details about how copper was used by the Egyptians to be very, very hard. Now, our scientists say there's no way copper can be made that hard to be chiseling. But in that chapter, he does say that the Egyptians had an advanced knowledge of how to make copper to a very hardened metal. And then they use gems like diamonds and saws. So the whole idea of understanding how the pyramids were built and how different structures around Peru, Central America fit together, and they're marvel examples of astronomical and mathematical precision. This chapter by Plutarch points out, and science is validating everything that is said in this Voice of Hermes book. And so it's fascinating to see that the pyramids in Giza are oriented right to the three belts of Orion. I wonder why that is.
Mm.
Now, another pyramid, I don't recall where it is, it's another part of the world, and they also are aligned to the three main Orion stars in the belt. And this is two parts of the country that are now have their pyramidal structures oriented right to the Orion constellation. Now, why is that?
I'm going to let you answer that question because you're more knowledgeable than I am.
We have a history in our past lives as being part of the Orion Empire. And we weren't the friendliest people on the block.
No.
We enjoyed taking over other planets. So somebody was trying to signal us, hey, we have a past heritage in Orion that we need to take a look at. And this is where Unarius really shines, is that history of the universe involves many past lives of us and our scientists who lived on the Orion constellation, part of the Orion Empire. And when they get a hold of technology and they reverse engineer these UAPs, they're more than happy to conceal it from the public and use it for ways to outsmart our country, our fellow countries, or weaponize it. So there is that factor.
It's what they did in the past, right? They're just reliving it.
The past repeats itself unless you're aware of it. Now, Unarians are aware of it. So we have a leg up, and we're now more in tune with our higher self to prevent that from happening again. So this is our task, is to get more people in alignment with their higher self and to never use technology to hurt anybody, even though they may have used it that way in a previous life. It is not going to happen in our new age.
Now, Unarius has a extensive library and is continuously producing media or participating in the production of media. So Unarius has been very much Johnny on the spot for getting that information out there and making it easy to access. What other type of things can we possibly do to spread the word that we live in a friendly universe, that we have a positive future, that we've been here before as non-humans, we're here now as humans, and so we're part of humanity, and we have a larger family that's out there in space? What else can we do to get the message out there?
Well, you talked about what we're doing, so I'm going to turn that around to you, Hercules. What do you do to help put that? You sponsor us and host us to talk about it, but what else do you do?
Basically through my writing, through my talking. Right now I have Parkinson's, so it's a little bit more
Yeah.
difficult to get around and stand up without losing my balance for long periods. But I used to teach classes, and some of the classes were, you paid for the class, and most of them were free. And I would hold them in libraries and other cultural
Yeah.
institutions, recreation centers, and whatnot. And also, I've been published extensively. I've been published in over 25 paranormal anthologies, the latest one from Llewellyn, and that's on theurgy, the ancient Hellenic or Greek art of or science of connecting with the divine and becoming a channel for divine energies to play out through the world directly rather than remotely. And since I started with the television show, which I had, and the podcasts, I always make sure that the more celestial perspectives are represented and that they have a steady and reliable platform that's friendly, where they can share their understandings and the revelations of the the teachings that they follow to make this world a better place. So it's not, I wish I could do more, but that's pretty much what I've been doing for over half a century. So
That's fantastic, and I think each person could answer that question differently. You know, we all have our own plan for our life and we all have our own past history. So, what we're going to be drawn to do is going to be a regeneration of what done before, but if we're being guided through our higher self, hopefully it's carrying a positive bias. It's being done in a more positive way now. So, some people will get more involved directly in the community or outreach. Some people, like you say, you write. Some people through this fellow that was fascinated since childhood, Dan Faber, Age of Disclosure director, and fulfilled it by making this documentary. So there's, infinite number of ways that people can turn on their green light of welcome and actively get involved. But I think the most important thing is to be working with your own consciousness on a daily basis to try to maintain that positive consciousness. And we've talked about it a number of times in different other podcasts with what's going on right now in the world, not to let it get you down and to see that there's lessons that are unfolding. It's a past life history playing out. And if you're a student of past life therapy, as Dave mentioned, you see your own past being out pictured on
yes,
the news media now, and you can learn from it. So, that on an individual basis is hugely important, is maintaining that positive consciousness and pushing forward that we do have a future to look forward to where we can all work together. But it starts with each person individually. It's not out there, it's in here, because we can only be responsible for ourselves and changing ourselves. We can't change other people how they think, and we certainly aren't, most of us, in a leadership position to make huge changes in how we impact the world as a country or whatever. So to me, that's something that I always try to keep in mind, is again being aware of my own consciousness.
that is powerful. Thank you. And it was very well said.
After seeing the documentary, The Alien Perspective, I emailed the filmmaker
Ah, okay.
and telling them about our website and our organization and how spaceships, UAPs, can fly hundreds of times the speed of light. Hopefully, we can get a filmmaker interested in coming to Unarius to interview our perspective. Because some scientists say, well, nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. How in the heck can they get here from 600 light years away? I mean, that would take them, what, 1,200 years to get here? That's not true. That's false. thanks to what Dr. Norman wrote about in his books, he introduced this wonderful technology and understanding how they work.
And our consciousness can travel instantaneously to anywhere. If anyone has done astral projection or dream work or work with altered states of consciousness, a lot of times the ship is a vehicle when you're doing a group effort. But if you're by yourself, you can go anywhere, you know, you could even go to places you've never been, just with your mind alone in a second. You don't really need the ships.
Well, I think the other important point that we've made is we already have the basic principles and knowledge that the individuals, the societies on these other 32 worlds have and are instituting in their educational system, their science. So we don't have to wait in that sense for them to come. So that's a fantastic thing. And again, each one of us can develop our own inner hookup. I know there's a number of students that have had some type of mental either image or brief contact or through a transmission we've received in one of our sessions, like particularly after interplanetary conclave of light, with contacts with these other beings and the information and encouragement and the love they have to share with us. So again, that's learning to use your own mind as a transceiver to tune up to these higher channels to be able to communicate with these beings on other worlds. And they don't need, you're right, they don't need to be here physically. But for most of the people on the planet, that is still a reality for them. They need to have them be here physically and eventually, you know, to see them and to have that direct contact.
There's an item described, if I remember correctly, called the lens.
Mm-hmm.
That is a device that is used by with the Federation. And when I was reading about it and through the books, I started experimenting with that. And it operates fairly much like a lot of the computerized um, programs we already have. You can ask questions and get answers. And I found that that's been helpful. I haven't used it to get specific like information, but in terms of insights, I found that if you imagine the lens and you imagine asking a question, then just know that it'll come when it comes. Sometimes it'll nag at the corner of your brain before finally coming into consciousness, but you'll get some amazing insights by using the device. And I don't know if there's a technique for that, but I found that useful when I was doing my in-depth explorations into the Unariun Revelations.
One time,
Fantastic.
one time I was experimenting with exactly what you're talking about. So I asked the lens, and they told me about a past life that I had on one of these other planets of the 33 Confederation, and the planet's name was Anzia, and they went into some detail about that.
Oh, is there anything you could share?
Well, they were very scientific, and they lacked their spiritual connection. So if you could imagine, they were very uppity. They felt very superior to anybody who didn't understand the basic laws of physics. And if you wanted to talk to me, you have to have a degree or something. I mean, that kind of attitude is what we had. We looked down our nose at the common person. Now, once Uriel made the contact with the planet leader and Anzia started waking up, guess what? All the scientists started letting their hair down and talking and sharing and educating everyone about science instead of keeping it to themselves. So that's one of my lifetimes.
Oh, that is awesome. That is incredibly awesome.
And
Celeste,
David's turning it around now because he loves to share the area science, whether it's in front as a class facilitator or through interviews or writings or whatever. So that's showing that he's learned from that lifetime, and now he's doing the opposite bias. Yeah.
and
And
do you
for
have
for
you'd
my
like to share?
Yeah, for myself, I've shared this before, I believe, so I won't go into great detail with it, but I had a tremendous dream a number of years ago, probably in the early 2000s, and it was so real. It's one of those dreams that you remember it vividly.
Mm-hmm.
And we were being attacked by huge UFOs, and they were putting out a beam, and you couldn't run away from it. You know, it was a horrible, horrible feeling that I couldn't escape, and I was going to be killed, and I was seeing other people being killed. And then the whole scene changed, and there was a huge UFO. It took up the whole horizon, and the whole feeling changed, and all I felt was this tremendous love. So when I woke up, what I realized is that my teachers, spiritual teachers, were showing me that I had been involved in past lifetimes, likely way back hundreds of thousands of years ago in the Orion civilization, of being on spaceships that went out and aggressively conquered other planets and did just what I got to experience, how awful that was. Horrible, horrible to go over on the other side being killed that way with that tremendous fear. And that there are a number of people on this planet now that experience things like that. And that's why subconsciously they have trepidation and a fear toward UFOs and extraterrestrials, but they don't understand that that's a past life memory. So, one of my roles now is to talk about this past history, to talk about the Interplanetary Confederation and the Space Brothers and how they're coming to help us with love in their hearts. And they've already demonstrated this among themselves and their own confederation that we're to be a part of. And so that's my turning around that bias of the past to share now that the Space Brothers are coming not to conquer us and to take over, but to help us and to bring this tremendous universal love for all of us to grow and share with each other on this planet.
Hercules, may
Yeah,
I add, may I
sure.
add a note? This podcast, I don't think would be complete without mentioning their advanced capability of traveling through media. So they are able to generate an artificial force field, or you can call it a bubble if you want, and they can go through water at incredible speeds. And all of us on the military, they look at it and they scratch their heads. So what happens inside that force field or bubble is they're in a slightly different dimension. So no longer are they affected by inertia, resistance, or any resistance at all. So the resistance of water that you and I know is there, they would have no problem because they're in a slightly different dimension. Same thing with going through the atmosphere. They are wherever they want to go. And they have the same capability of generating a force field and vectoring that force field to wherever they want to go. And they're in a slightly different dimension called the fourth dimension. And they're able to suspend what our normal space-time is like, meaning the inertia, the resistance, and all that. Now, that would explain a lot of mystery to how they can move through water, the sea at incredible speeds, stop on a dime, and go up vertically 80,000 feet in a second. So one of the techniques, well, that's the UAP can generate their own force field. Another method is called the beam ship, where the mothership sends out a beam of energy and the scout craft is caught in that beam. And like a flashlight, you can point that beam wherever and can make it move on right angles, stop on a dime or anything, and the scout craft in that beam will obey and stay coherent to the resonant frequency of that beam. So that's another method. So when you understand these propulsion principles using gravity, which is way beyond our understanding, it makes a lot of sense as to how they can move with such agility.
That does make a lot of sense, and it also reinforces what was said during Senate hearings, that basically the companies that benefit from the mystery, because there's the technology they're trying to re-engineer, they
Mhm.
don't have a lot invested in getting the truth out there. That it's better if fear exists and people are afraid of enemies coming to hurt them, and this way they can be defended from those enemies if they have a better weapon at their disposal, and then we'll show them. So the only thing that struck me as like very odd was nothing really was disclosed if you've been following the phenomenon for very many years. The information, the pictures, everything seemed familiar, and even some of the conclusions they made sense. They're being presented as if it was a disclosure for the first time, but that information's been leaked out very many times. So I left my viewing, and so far I'm leaving the conversations about the movie, and I do still want to watch the movie, a little disappointed because there isn't anything earth-shattering. Even the ultra dimensionality or the other dimensionality of the UFOs. Many people with different investigations, taking different approaches, have come to that same conclusion that they can become physical, but they're not, totally physical. Is there anything that you found, because you're more adept at this information than I am? Is there anything you found that was truly new with the new disclosure?
I think
Well,
to me it was the involvement of the military industrial companies to the degree that they are. I wasn't aware of that. But the point that they make in this documentary is that they do know more, but it's still classified. And of course, one of the reasons they don't want to reveal it is because, to whatever degree, our rivals in China and Russia listening, and then they know we know, and then are they going
Yeah.
to glean information from this? So at some point, that's got to change, and the public's got to demand that more come out. But the one thing that was really emphasized is that Roswell was real, and they did recover a crashed vehicle and bodies and uh, which president was it? Was Bush, the first Bush, that he was head of the CIA, and he validated with this other person that was in the film that there are other bodies that have been recovered, and people that were still alive that came down out of their spacecraft and communicated with these people. They actually did say that there were individuals that were able to communicate, probably mentally, I would guess, or unless they had a language decoder or something. So that to me was new in the sense that it's being now stated by the government that that's true.
Really. Yeah, I remember hearing that also, and yes, that struck me as it was good to have confirmation for that, because that was the only real conclusion you can come to after all these years. So I'm glad that they validated that, as well as that these craft exist. David, do you have anything you want to add?
I can send you some email that you can watch. It's not part of the disclosure. It's whistleblowers who come out and say things that are just incredible. One of the transmissions through Antares, I forgot which book, but they told him through his channelship that they've already succeeded in reverse engineering a lot of the UFO technology, and they have traveled throughout our solar system. But the main thing that Unarius focuses on is those extraterrestrials who have come here on a healing mission, like the Aryans or the Lemurians or the Atlanteans. When they have come here, it's always been with a connection to the inner worlds, meaning there is a healing part of their mission. Now, uh, the brother through Antares said because they've reversed engineered and began to travel, they don't have that inner hookup with the spiritual planes. So there's a different frequency. But, curiosity is the driving force. People want to know. what's it like on the surface of Mars or whatever. And I can send you video.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that. Wow, our time is passed quickly. I wish we had another hour or two, but we can schedule another hour or two to continue this topic.
Yeah, the
I
time.
actually had an idea for Unarius' book. I don't know if it's a idea you'd be interested in, but I've seen um, books coming out where people have like a drawing of the different alien race, like the reptilians or
Uh,
lion people from Lyra and things like that. And then they have like a description of things that entities from here channeled or what they've said when they've interacted with humanity in a more physical way. Uh, Unarius has a very rich library, and I think a lifetime's too little to really study the Unarian material that is available to me now. That's my impression. But if there was something where all the different beings that are part of the Confederation, for instance, if there was a drawing of what they look like, if seen, and then the type of message that they have or the type of lesson that they teach, I think this might do a lot to help spread the good word. Again, it's something that's happening anyway, and this would be a unique perspective because the beings are known and their origin is not speculative.
You mean a special book devoted to true UAP, UFO encounters and extraterrestrials?
Yes, but with an emphasis on the different types of extraterrestrials and where they come from and what their history is and things like that. A lot of the books are based on the reports that people have or channelings that they have. Like I remember when I was investigating this mystery 20 years ago, people were getting messages from flying lion-like cats. And there was a lot of material floating around. Greek gods have produced a lot of literature if you can gather it together and put it in one place. And there's books that give you little bits and pieces of this, but Unarius has a library, and people who've studied that library for their entire existence or for much of it. So, like a chapter could be on Vixol, for instance. What do the people of Vixol look like? What is Vixol's history? What is Vixol's purpose in interacting with the Earth?
we have that book.
Oh, you
We
do?
have, well, Communications from Outer Space. We just had a fantastic presentation at our conclave. Kevin's going to make a podcast out of it. And David tuned in and worked with AI from the descriptions given, to have visuals of the unique architectural features and the gardens and the greenery and the spaceships flying around that
Oh,
land on
great.
top of these roofs, etc. So we have begun that
That's
process, and there's everything in its time, so to speak. I'm sure will come out or be, but that book has a lot of detail about what life is like on Vixel.
I
And I
I read the book years ago when it didn't have illustrations, or at least my copy didn't have illustrations, but the illustrations will help, I believe. It's that
can I add a short story?
sure.
There was an incident that took place in Russia. I don't remember the city. It wasn't Moscow, but a UAP landed, and there was a lot in the plaza where there was a lot of people. And this extraterrestrial, which was a human-like, wasn't a
Yeah.
gray or anything. It was a human-like person. Got out and he pointed this device
Mm.
at people, and the people scattered, thinking it was a weapon. So Uriel got in touch with the brothers
Yeah.
about this and found out through the transmission through Antares that it was a translator. It was a
Yep.
universal translator. He was pointing to understand and to communicate with the people there, and they all fled for their lives. And that's one of the things that is we have a fear-based society that
Yes.
needs to be turned around. So that would be one of the chapters in your book, is this event,
I think it was in '89, yeah?
something like that, in the
Yeah,
80s.
yeah, it was in the papers. It was in the
Eh,
media for sure.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
So there's incredible positive energy coming into planet Earth. Unfortunately, the negative forces want to thwart it, but we're staying above it all and we're keeping positively focused.
I love that attitude. It's one of the things I love about Unarius, and there are many things I love about Unarius. Also, I like Unarius is taking responsibility for what is
Yeah.
happening. It's a projection of things that you participate in that are part of you. So it is talking to you, and it's talking to you about something specific. Again, I wish we had more time. We don't today. I
I,
want to thank you.
I think an important thing to end with
Sure,
that David started with
of
is
course.
that there is a master plan and we're not aware of all of it. And it is being guided by these very advanced beings. And these space brothers are working directly with them. They have a better communication with them because of their development than we do. So we also have to trust in that this master plan is unfolding in the way that it's supposed to, and they know that there's going to be setbacks and the negative forces in various ways are going to try and oppose it, but it's going to happen.
And I want to do a show just on that. That is an awesome thing. David, you want to add anything to what Celeste said?
No, but I can show you video of people who are echoing the same thing, that planet Earth has a positive future. And UAP disclosure is a part of the plan.
If you send me links to the videos, I will watch them. I usually watch things when I'm working out. So as I'm working out, I'll be absorbing the information.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with the Unarius and enter the Unarian universe? And what are some of the things that are coming up in the near future? And if you want people to contact you as well, how can they contact you?
Well, our website is www.unarius.org. You can contact us through uriel@unarius.org or email. And very few people call us anymore, but if you want that phone number, it's on our website under Contact Us. We have many different avenues to learn about Unarius, our Vimeo channel, our YouTube channel, and all those links are on the very top left, the icons of our website. So we have many wonderful things that you can learn more about these future positive things that are going to happen, past life therapy, etc.
Thank you very much. And David, anything you'd like to recommend?
No, just go visit our website and you'll find a lot of information.
Thank you very much. I wish you success in everything. Uh, I look forward to these conversations, and you did not disappoint. Again, I wish the show was longer. In case we don't talk before the holidays, happy holidays and a happy and healthy new year.
You
Okay.
too.
Thank you, Hercules. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. And to all who are at home, until next time, this is us wishing you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night.